Do you ever complete a task that was difficult, but you knew it was worth it because you knew that you'd be rewarded for completing that task? Have you ever done something you did not want to do, but because there was a compensation, you were suddenly motivated to do that certain job? I think all of us, including myself, can relate to this because, well, we all have jobs. Now, not all of us are unhappy with our work situations. I understand that. For instance, you could be working at a place that you someday want to run or be the boss. You may work at a place where you can see yourself having a future and love your job. But in some cases, you are where you are because you are in need of money, and the crummy, demoralizing job you have just so happens to pay you enough that you can afford to pay your bills and other personal debts. There happens to be a certain scenario where you have to take a physical toll on your body day in and day out and work hard in multiple different categories. Imagine if you had to exert yourself physically and mentally each day, but then at the end of the day, the only compensation you received was self-satisfaction. While this certain scenario happens to be what college student athletes go through on a daily basis, I believe that college student athletes are some of the hardest working people in the country. Between having to grind through games and practices and workouts and having to keep your body in excellent physical condition and trying to hit the books and be the best student you can be, all at the same time, they are constantly on the move and constantly out of breaks. Now, there's a rule in the National Collegiate Athletic Association, or better known as the NCAA, that prohibits college athletes from receiving any kind of compensation or bribe of any kind. Now, I see this as unfair because sports like college football is a multi-million-dollar business, and universities continue to make loads and loads of money. But at the end of the day, all that athlete receives is a scholarship. And the issue that I have with this scenario is that the expenses that takes place to be able to attend college far outweighs the amount of money scholarship student athletes receive. There are so many student athletes out there that come from impoverished families and backgrounds and simply cannot afford college. Now, these same students are constantly pressured to receive compensations from certain agents, all kinds of alumni, and their family members. This, as you already know, is illegal in the NCAA. I think that this raises the question, should college athletes be paid a salary by the universities as compensation for participating in sports? Now, there are many who oppose paying college athletes to participate in sports. The two main arguments they use is firstly that the athletic departments at colleges and universities would become buried in debt if they paid all their athletes, especially the smaller schools, the junior colleges, the Division threes, schools like that. Secondly, these naysayers believe that compensating college athletes would only encourage corruption and unfairness, and it would create bias. I believe that as long as there are strict rules that closely monitor the salaries of each student athlete, they could allow athletes to be paid. Now, with that being said, regardless of how illegal it is, some athletes still get paid under the table. Now, you will hear student athletes as well as their universities say that education is the most important thing and that it is of the utmost importance to them. But in reality, many athletes mainly care about their sport. Lots of athletes only go to college to play their sport, and most of them do not end up graduating. So that scholarship they received is ultimately worthless to them. So I do not think that it is fair to college student athletes that they go to a university and accumulate debt. Meanwhile, the university itself profits because of the hard work put in by that student athlete. Now, I think that college student athletes that participate in sports and represent their university or college on the national stage are considered to be workers for the college. I do not see any difference between working in the school cafe, for example, and working on the baseball field or the basketball court or the volleyball court. And I think both of these things bring well fortunes to the school. And the difference is that the student that works at the cafe gets paid because they work for the college. But the baseball players and the basketball players and the volleyball players, they play. They play for the college or university. And that is what the current national outlook is right now. And at the end of the day, the cafe worker is paid and well compensated and rewarded for their work. And the baseball player wakes up the next morning with no reward, no compensation, and has to repeat his efforts again. I include myself in this group as I am a college athlete, and I can relate to the effort that it requires to be a college athlete. When I think about my personal college experience, the first three words that I think of are baseball and time consumption. As college athletes, we wake up early for workouts and then go to class. After class, we practice and head to study tables, which end up consuming most of our evenings. I kid you not when I say that it is an all work, no play lifestyle. I say this confidently because I know what it takes to be a college athlete. And that is why I believe college athletes should be compensated, and you should believe in compensation for college athletes also. All we need to do is simply take that first small step. I know that Rome was not built in a day, and that we need to deal with this situation cautiously and wisely. The issue of paying college athletes is an issue that we see gaining traction and popularity each and every year. It is no doubt a hot topic of conversation. So it is time to compensate college athletes before more illegal money is taken. Do the right thing. Vote to pay for play. Thank you.